everybody. It's the Recruiter Guys, and we are talking hospitality. I'm Gary Turner.
Carrie Stinson.
And we hope everybody's having a great week so far. We have a guest today, Brian Hood. I've known Brian for quite a while when he was in Colorado, I believe, or out west. And I believe he's back in Texas. And it's a very interesting conversation we'll have today because Brian is actually the COO with Studio Movie Grill. And I've always been intrigued by that part of our industry. So without further ado, Brian, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got where you are, and how things are in your segment of the industry so far this year.
And how are you, Brian?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be on. I'm glad to be on. So sure. Let's dig into this. You know, being in the industry for a lot of years, I've worked with some very notable brands and some great individuals, both brick and mortar, national chains, and also in the franchise side, both domestic and internationally. You know, getting to Studio Movie Grill and getting into the in-theater dining segment is both, you know, exciting and also extremely challenging. It is a niche concept, very much, you know, when you look at how you go about attracting team members and managers, you know, a lot of the national chains, you know, they have that name recognition. Everyone knows how it operates, how it works. In theater dining is one of those, you know, kind of, you know, it's a gem where it has to be explained. You have to go the extra mile to explain to the people what the concept is, how it functions, how it works. So, you know, coming here has been kind of it's been one of the greatest, I would say, challenges of my career, but also some of the best, you know, successes in terms of culture, retention, you know, and attracting fantastic talent. So that may be a great segue into what we're going to talk about. You know, the pandemic has tilted the whole job seeking process on its head. And, you know, no one, I think, is immune to that, but it's really about how you've positioned yourself prior to the pandemic. I think culturally is what it gives people a strategic advantage. You know, for us, what we found out was that, you know, you needed a compelling reason for people to come work for you. In the past, it was centered around wage and really about a little flexibility. But there's more components nowadays, more than ever, you know, not just a compelling reason culturally and a positive work environment, but also how long it takes to really process that interview process, where before you maybe could, you know, 2 weeks of, hey, the first interview, the second interview, then you get to the hiring manager, and then maybe a day in the life. Well, you've lost them nowadays. You need to jump on it. It's like you gotta fish when the fish are biting. And so if you have a great candidate, you need to accelerate that decision-making process and from 2 weeks down to less than a week, because you have probably 10 other companies right now that are vying for that individual. So outside of, you know, the interview process and not compromising the importance of asking the right questions and describing what your concept is about, and having them be able to at least visit a location and understand culturally where you're really at. The speed and efficiency in which you onboard, I think, and recruit is equally as important. You know, some of the other things, you know, you have to be able to, you know, understand their career wants and needs in a short amount of time as well. So you have to ask the right questions. Some people haven't changed a lot of their interview processes and their questions because those behaviors have changed, just like customers, you know, their behaviors in terms of what they're looking for have changed as well. It's much more experiential, much more quality driven. And so we're finding out that we also had to shift not just the process, but the details within the process of the interviewing and asking the right questions, you know, and giving them a chance within that short time frame also to experience what we do and how we do it. So, you know, one of the other things that I think is, and it's the woohoo part of it, which is always hard for people to kind of put their finger on, is there has to be something greater than just the job. To showing up, turning on the lights, turning on the fryers, and interacting with people. There has to be a purpose behind it. Ours is purpose driven. We're a conscious business, and so culture is important to us. But more importantly, giving back, growing people personally and financially, making a positive wake in the community through our special needs screenings, our Chefs for Children's program, which donates money to the local charities within the markets that they serve. There has to be a higher purpose for people to feel connected to a brand. And that's something that we offer. And that's something that I think a lot of brands have to really reach deep inside to understand, what is driving the recruiting and the staffing and the tenure within their company. And a lot of the times it's always centered in that cultural piece. And it's kind of like the three-legged stool, the cultural piece, the compensation, and the quality of life. So those were some of the aha moments that we discovered, coming out of the pandemic, that really, I think, positioned us much more advantageously versus our competitors in the segment as well. And we find a lot of restaurateurs coming to us because those are the things that are important to them. They're getting out of just the food service and getting into the film and the entertainment piece of it as well. So those are some of the things that I think are important that operators and also recruiters both take note of. The speed and efficiency of the process, the granular questions that we're asking, of our candidates, and also, from the facilitation from a recruiter's perspective, understanding what that culture is and what are the culture drivers within each organization. And, to me, those are the nuggets. Those are the hidden gems. And if as radically as the industry has changed in this area, so do the process, and so does the hiring process, and also the selection process, the training process, and the follow-up process inside the organization has to change just as dramatically.
Wow. And wow. I think Gary and I are both like, wow.
Well, it's you're really faced with a huge challenge. You can go around any place, and I hate sounding like Captain Obvious, but go to any restaurant. They have a sign out front that says, "The world is short-staffed. Please be kind to those who showed up." You have, places saying, "Hey, we're low on staff," or closures. Many places, I've been to notable, international brands that have to close because they don't have the people to do it. So, what are the options? Close business or find a new way. And I think the resilient and the creative, innovative concepts out there that are thinking differently are the ones who are taking, giant steps ahead of what the, I guess you would say the norm is. You can't keep doing the same thing that we did pre-pandemic and expect to be successful.
That was one of our key conversations during the first pandemic, or back a year or so ago. It was uncharted waters for everybody. Nobody had any idea what to do, how to do it. But then all these wonderful, smart operators figured out, curbside service, let's bust that wall out and fit a drive-through window in there. Let's still make the experience as good as we can, even though they can't come in. The plastic dividers, the bands outside, away from everybody. I mean, there was just some really good ideas that people went through to maintain their business. And but the one thing that I never thought, or that I'm still trying to figure out, is, okay, so everybody scrambled and left. Everybody went to their own corner to save their own piece of bread. And then we figured, okay, when this dies down and lays down and goes away, everybody will come back and life will be great.
Yeah. I mean, it's wishful thinking. It really is. I mean,
well, I'm still hoping.
Yeah. Who would have thought that, how many times, I think we talked about this before in just some casual conversations, candidates who just aren't showing up to interviews, and it's why. And that's the question you have to ask yourself as a whether it's as a recruiter or it's as, running an organization. you have to find out why. Why is that? Why aren't they showing up? Is it that we're not giving them a good enough reason?
Do
Is
you
it
have
not
any
an
thoughts
attractive-
on that?
What's that? Oh yeah, absolutely. We, you know, I don't like hearing the word no, but I think that's, that's a challenge for everyone, right? So what we've done, in some cases, we called them up, we asked them, hey, why didn't you show up? Some of them answer the phone, some don't, but I think it goes back to, those were the learning pieces that kind of put us where we are today. We found out that a lot more people are showing up. We're having those upfront conversations in micro, kind of micro burst conversations with candidates, where before we're learning through error, but asking them, and it was, hey, it took too long, or I just, I didn't really get a good feeling of what the organization did, what they were doing, what was important to them. And so we had to take those learnings and kind of, pivot as quick as possible. So yeah, I mean, it was painful to hear when we first heard the feedback, but it's all about taking that feedback and turning into something positive, which I think we did.
I guess
Well,
the most disappointing thing to me is that, I understand, okay, you change your mind, you got a better offer, but why not let someone know? That's what's, I guess I'm just going to say this, that's what hurt my feelings.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, in this whole thing is, if you don't want it, just tell me so I can tell the client, or, you can tell but everybody's sitting there waiting for you to walk in the door, and you don't show up and you don't call. That's been a disappointing part of this for me personally, but
Yeah.
I do understand that, things happen.
Yeah, true.
It's just professional. Go ahead.
I'm curious, Brian, do you think we're going to end up with happier employees though in the long run? That they've probably been working and holding all this in, and they're finally letting you know everything. This is what I'm looking for. Because I know they've always wanted better quality of life, but they're now telling, and I think now going in and accepting a job, knowing I'm going to get these things, don't you think they'll be happier, which means they'll stay longer?
Well, here's another one of those moments is, think about during the pandemic, most people were laid off and furloughed in the industry. It was catastrophic. So what is the thing? What's the relationship built upon? Can you trust a company that's not going to furlough you? So when you think about it now, what changes that trust is reliability over time. I think it will take time to heal some of these behaviors, but I think as an organization, you have to be completely transparent with candidates about the company's, focus, the company's initiatives, the company's culture. And I don't know if there's a shortcut to that. That's a great question. But I do know this, is that I think that the root cause of it is, people want to trust the company they work for. They want to trust that they have their best interests in mind. They want to trust that they have a job where they show up to, and one day they're not going to be told they're furloughed. And those are, am I going to be able to put groceries on the table? Am I going to be able to, put gas in my car? That's about as real as it gets. And those are the conversations that I think I remember vividly during this pandemic, and I don't ever want to forget them, because it's the biggest learning moment, I think, for a lot of operators. And if they didn't take that away from it, we have to be more transparent with candidates. We also have to be, we have to build trust, and that's not something that can be done overnight. You can't tell someone to trust you, and it's transactional. It has to happen through the experience and over time.
Yeah, it's funny saying all that. Many candidates that I talk to, they lost bonuses. They lost things that, they depended on when you're talking about, rent and food and things of that nature. And they just didn't come back. And then not only that, they were asked to work more hours and a lot of those things. And I think it really obviously it stuck with them.
Yeah. The thing, and switching past that, I think time heals, right? And so the industry is in the process of that healing, in itself. And we're seeing in our industry, we're seeing Spider-Man just happen. It was busy as all get out. And here we are with Uncharted, which just was released, and it did fantastic over, globally over the weekend. I think it was 100 million. So from a business, the business is coming back. people are, I don't know how many people fly, but I'll tell you what, if you've flown recently, you have a full plane you're flying, and you're starting to see people get out. You're seeing traffic again. And so it will come back and into the healthy, the kind of same kind of volume I think people were seeing, but it's going to take some time. In the meantime, what we have to do is we have to create the best conditions for candidates, as we're seeing them in the interview process, as we see them in their experience of their days in life or work studies. So those are things that we have to do. A couple of other things that you made me think of, Carrie, where, it's people always look at recruiting as kind of like you recruit on January, right? You recruit right before the summer, you recruit at the tail end of the summer, but not too close to the holidays because, everyone wants to stay during the holiday season. You always have to be recruiting at this time. I mean, every day. I know that's what you guys do. You wake up every morning and you have to, operators do too. They have to wake up every morning going, how can I continue to grow and build my team members, both, from a transferable skills standpoint, but also from a financial standpoint,
You never know. I advise all of my clients, and is that never stop interviewing.
Yeah.
Always, you never know when a Michael Jordan or a Tom Brady is going to walk through your front door and be a game changer for your business, whether it's a server or a manager. You should always interview, whether you don't need anybody or not, because Saturday night you might need somebody if they just say I'm done and they leave. So I think always interviewing is extremely important. And you said something, you've elaborated to it a few times, but you're finding, I guess, that it's not just the money. I mean, even large signing bonuses aren't moving the needle as much as I thought they would. What are some of the things that you're specifically doing to attract and then retain your staff? And you have how many theaters?
Right now we have 21 locations, and we have about 4,500 to 5,000 team members. So great question. And, this is where I think the rubber hits the road. Once you get them into your organization, number one, the first day is the most important, obviously. The orientation, spending time, describing to a new team member, a new manager, not just the culture that you're introducing them into, but also walking the talk. The other things that are included in there is what tools and resources you're going to give them. But where I think the most important thing is what are you doing to make them better? When we bring on candidates, that is our single greatest investment in team members, managers, hourlies, is how we go about learning and development. When people say they leave a company because it's not growing, what I think in some cases, and I'm not putting words in people's mouth, one of the things they're saying is, I didn't learn anything. I don't want to be a task manager. I don't want to be a checklist manager. What are you teaching me to make me better? And whether that's mentoring, or in our case, we have a pathway to development. There's a pathway that they can go on our platform, our L&D platform, and they can go, okay, if I do this, and this, and I, complete these courses and modules, and I'm also learning and growing inside and learning to the situational leadership and working inside the four walls, being able to manage and direct team members to meet our common, our shared goals. But that pathway is actually tangible and it's there. So it's not like this, I'm waiting for Jupiter and Mercury in retrograde to be able to find the opportunity or waiting for someone to retire to be promoted. This pathway creates that for them, and it's visible to them every day. We also invest in emotional intelligence training, the power of TED, attention management, conscious communication, making sure that we're not only teaching them the tangible things, but also the emotional side of leading people and understanding people better. Those are some of the key areas that we've seen that netted us some of the best retention and also some of the best performance that we've seen.
And this is all done at unit level by the management team. They have the tools from you and the offices and they take that information?
Yeah. Absolutely. All of our team members and all of our managers have access to our learning platform every day. Devoid of time or schedule, they can log in, they can look at it. They can go through the modules on their own time and energies. In California, I think we have a geofence where they're only in the theaters when they can do it. So it's not something that, we're pushing outside of work, and that's just a compliance piece of it, which is very important to us. But yeah, it is all, having tools and resources is great, but if you can't get them and you can't reach them, then what good are they? So these are all literally at their fingertips. And some of the other things too is we have to measure what matters. So we manage turnover. We look at it. We say, hey, where are the deficiencies? Where are the shortfalls? Why are people leaving? We do exit interviews with our team members when they leave and our managers. And if, we also do stay interviews, people who have long tenure with our company. Why are you staying? Tell us what we're doing right and tell us the things that make you want to be here. And we have a great group of individuals who've been with us for decades, and we can learn from them just like we can learn from people who leave. So, to answer your question, learning and development is a key driver for the retention. Emotional intelligence training, a clear pathway of development. I mentioned this before: transparency in terms of company culture and initiatives. We do town hall meetings on a quarterly basis to make sure we're communicating with all the managers in the field, letting them know what we're doing as a company to make, to grow them personally and professionally as well. And, and then we measure, and then we plan to check and adjust. So those are kind of the nuggets that we look at in how we go about with retention and how we go about a constant learning loop.
And Brian, I was curious. So with the pandemic and that shutting you down, as you've come back, have you tried new things? Did you do new things for the customers in the kitchen with the food?
Yeah.
Are there different things you've tried?
Yeah. Matter of fact, we did the same thing a lot of people did. We were, and I'd love to say this, we were the first in-theater dining company to launch a virtual brand. We launched 540 Pizza and Calzones. It was wildly successful during the pandemic while people couldn't get out. And, we delivered it through a third party, and we also had pickup, which we were very proud of. Great quality pizzas and calzones, and also had new rubs and stuff that we introduced for wings and stuff. So we were very, very excited about that and the contribution that made to our revenue stream. Some of the other things that we did appreciation for our guests. While our guests couldn't come in and watch movies, we did curbside appreciation where we gave out movie passes, and we also gave out popcorn. So when the movies did come back, it enticed those guests to come back, where we gave them simple, safe ways to experience our brand. That was the big question mark was, is it safe? And we had to not only promote and talk about the things that made us a cinema safe environment, but we also had to execute those on a daily basis as people began coming back. To make sure that we were, they felt great about coming back to the movies, whether it's social distancing, sanitation stations, delivery of food products, disposable cups, etc. But we did those things during the pandemic that were creative outside to try and create new revenue streams and also, keep that relevancy. I think that was an important piece of that, keeping your name out there, letting people know that, we were fighting for our team members. Our primary desired outcome was to save jobs, keep as many people as employed as we could during the pandemic, so we didn't have to furlough people. That's the fighting spirit of this brand, and that's something I'm extremely proud of.
I have an operational question. So you get is it like a banquet or an event where everybody sits down, orders, and all the food's out at the same time? Pretty much.
There's a couple ways you can experience in theater dining. So the traditional ways, you can buy your ticket online. You can actually buy it through a third party, Fandango or Atom Tickets.
Right.
You come to the theater and then you proceed to the show. We ask people to show up about 30 minutes early for the theater, for the feature. You sit down and you have your QR code where you can download our menu. You can push your button and a server will come and take your order. That's one way. That's a traditional way. And we full service menu. And then the second way would be you can order online through our app. So you can order online. You know, if that's the way you want to experience a brand, you come in, you can order your tickets and your food online and show up, and your food will come to your seat. The last way is you can order through the kiosk, and so you can order food and beverage from the kiosk. You can also order your movie tickets there as well. So there's 3 different ways. It's whichever way you choose, and I think that's one thing we're really trying to promote was it's all simple and safe ways to experience our brand, SMG.
Right, and not as staff during the bleak times, not as staff intensive.
Yes, correct. But what we found out, and this is, I think, the greatest thing of all, is that people crave the connection. People crave the interaction. Movies is at the essence of togetherness and community, and it's a shared experience. And what we found out was majority of our guests, and I mean a large number of our guests, love the traditional service. They want to come in, they want someone to wait on them, they want their food to be brought to them. That is what they want, because maybe it's the normality of it that reminds them of things when things were much more simple and less complex. And so that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of people come in going, nope, I don't want to order from the app. I'm tired of technology. This is what we want. But we offer them where we meet the guests where they're at, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's well, that's the creative. The 3 ways is very creative. I do like the server coming in the theater and ordering from them.
Well, and I think we missed that, right? We missed that social interaction.
Well, like you said,
being in our house all the time.
Yeah.
Just talking to someone and not having to serve yourself. I think it's
while they're bent down so they don't block the guy behind his view.
Well, I mean, imagine this. I mean, when, now that a lot of the mask mandates are being lifted, you can go to a restaurant now, you can see a smiling face, where before all you saw was someone wearing a mask. So, I mean, how is hospitality possible, or possible at the level in which you expect it as a guest, when you can't see someone smiling, or you can't see the, how they're, you don't get the full facial expressions that you do when someone's wearing a mask. So there's other things that I think we're going to see as we start seeing some of the mandates, being lifted, with respect to team members and managers who want to continue to wear them as well. I think that's an important piece to say. But I think that's a large piece of it, is that, hospitality, took many blows. And I think one of them was, this is a face-to-face business. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing that people are excited. They're thanking us when they're coming back. Hey, we're so excited that you guys are here. Those are the things that we're seeing from our level.
So your theaters they're you can sit next to each other. It's not social distancing,
Yeah.
right?
Yep, we follow all the local ordinances and guidelines that have been pushed through the state. So, for instance, if they mandate a social distancing, we're following it. If they mandate mask in a certain county that we're in, we're following the rules. We want to make sure that the most important thing for us, we're a conscious business, so the safety of our team members and the safety of our guests are the priority. They have to be safe. And we'll do whatever it takes to make sure we put them first, so that if they're happy, they're taking care of our guests.
Got time for a couple more questions. I'm just curious about the growth plans for Studio Movie Grill. I mean, 21, are you staying national? Are you going international? I know you've got a lot of experience working abroad, but are there plans for more?
Well, I will say this, and I'm not trying to be evasive. I said we're looking for opportunities, and that's what we'll leave it at. I mean, we are right now, we're seeing the movie slates coming back. We're seeing more of the content come in, and, we're going to be looking for the right opportunities. I think that's the safe answer. There's a lot of movement in the market right now across the whole, food industry.
Right.
So, we want to focus on making sure we're, sharpening our craft and delivering and building up our team members and our locations, so that, as we see this film content coming back, we can deliver the best hospitality experience we can.
Yeah, well, you know, a lot of people thought that the movie theaters, the go sit tos, were going to go away with Netflix and Amazon. But like you and some other companies, they just stay true to what they do, and there's still nothing like watching a good show in a movie theater and just getting wrapped up in it. I mean, it's the event, and now to be able to eat a pizza or some wings with your new rub on them is even more enticement.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have a lot of hot opinions about the film industry, you know, and I always say if I had a dime for every time someone said movies are dead, I would have been retired by now. But I think the safe answer is that the theatrical, nothing can replace that theatrical experience, nor the bonanza that film distributors receive from releasing it in theaters. You know, and I think there's room for everyone in the sandbox. That's my personal opinion. I think that there's going to be an element of people who that want to come out, and I think we saw that. We saw that with Spider-Man. We sort of saw that with Uncharted. As people begin to, you know, get out again, we're starting to see those numbers continue to grow. And so our really focus is making sure that experience that they have inside our four walls, whether it's in California or it's in Florida or it's in Georgia, is something worth coming back to. And that's on us as operators, right? You know, that's why they put front doors on businesses. You know, if you do a great job, they're going to come back in. If you don't, you're not.
Well, the movie theater, I still think, will always be the first date or the date night destination for a lot of people. But gosh, it was so interesting listening to another segment of the industry from you, Brian. I really appreciate your time, and can't wait to see some good movies.
Well, we'll see you at the movies is what I always say, and I really appreciate you guys having me on. And if there's anything else that we can be of service to, let us know. But really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you, Carey, and thank you, Gary.
Thank you so much, Brian.